All right, everybody, what's happening? It is Parx Sportsbook Presents Stick to Hockey Live as I try and untangle my earbuds. They're all kinds of tangled up. It's Jason Myrtetus. Bill Meltzer are going to join us in just a couple minutes from PhiladelphiaFlyers.com, NHL.com, and HockeyBuzz.com. Also, we are going to talk to Tone. We got Tone's Takes. Going to talk about Bankroll Management as well, about 140. So a ton to get into on this episode of Parx Sportsbook Presents Stick to Hockey Live. I don't like the angle of my camera there. There you go. Much better. Nobody wants to see the door. I got to go this way. Everything's opposite. Let me tell you about Parx. Huge sports gambling weekend. Big game on Sunday, and a great time to get the Parx Sportsbook app. Download it and open up an account, deposit, first bet, risk-free, up to $500. You don't have to do a promo code or anything like that. All the props are there, and there's a ton of props on that game on Sunday. And just a normal game, normal NHL games, normal college and pro hoops, all that stuff always has all kinds of different things you can get your action in on. You don't have to talk about shots on goal, total shots on goal, first to score, last to score, to score, power play, points in a game, over-unders, same game parlays, live in-game betting. I could go on and on. All the different things that you can, exact score. I like betting exact score. All those things you can bet. So check it out on the Parx Sportsbook app. It's simple to use, and you'll have no problem navigating. And again, you just deposit your first bet risk-free up to $500. If you use another service, check it out. This is a great time. Take advantage of the fact that your first bet is risk-free up to $500 on this great sports gambling weekend that's upon us. So make sure you follow Parx on the social channels as well, at Parx Sportsbook. Follow them on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube as well. There you'll get great content. Not only this Stick to Hockey Live content, all of it. You also get Rich Gannon, Eddie Alvarez, Natalie Eganoff, Sam Wilson, daily specials, Matt Alba, all of it. You'll get all of that content. Will be there at your fingertips. And if you haven't checked it out, I highly recommend you do, because there's a lot of great content that Parx Sportsbook is putting out, which is just awesome. So, and like I said, follow them on their social channels at Parx Sportsbook on Twitter, on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube as well. Now, Bill Meltzer will join us in just a couple of minutes, and I've gotten a lot of messages from people asking to get Bill on this show. Now, I have Bill on Flyers Daily weekly. He's on every Monday, and I thought today would be a good opportunity now that we're past the All-Star game. We're kind of counting down the days at this point to the Nhl Trade Deadline, which is coming up on March 21st. How far is that from now? I'm trying to do. So there's 28 days in this month, so 18 days left in this month, and 21. So it's creeping closer. It's not close. I don't want to oversell it. It will be 5 weeks from Monday. So that's when the trade deadline will be. So make sure you get in on all the action that's going to be surrounding the Flyers when it comes to trade deadline, because I think it's going to be fascinating. And with Bill, we're also going to talk about, obviously, trade deadline, the team this year, the disappointment that has been this season, finding a way, as Danny Briere put it when I talked to him yesterday, the way he put it, I've been saying the Flyers need to find positives out of this season, find something that they can take out of this season. And Danny used it as the word opportunity, which I thought was an awesome word. So I got to speak with him yesterday. So there's a lot to get into. We'll get to Tone's Takes coming up at 1:40. But joining us right now from the Flyers Skate Zone, it is the one and only. It is Bill Meltzer. Billy, how are you?
I'm doing well, Jason. How about you?
What did you observe over there at practice today?
Today, there was a big emphasis on battle drills, and that wasn't by accident. They had in the corners one-on-one battles. Going down the ice. Had guys moving their feet, little 5-foot passes, and then guys skating the puck over the middle and shooting. It was also a 50-minute practice too, so it was a pretty long practice.
Yeah, people think about that. They go, 50 minutes? That ain't long. But when you look at in the middle of a season, and they'll have a chance to practice quite a bit this month because of the schedule. It's basically like 2 games a week, because this was supposed to be the Olympic break, and they didn't they didn't have a bunch of games postponed like a lot of other teams did. So that's good. Bill, let's start here, because you and I have talked about Mike Yeo and the job that he's done and just basically an impossible situation. And I think you and I agree with this, that Mike's done the best job he can in an impossible situation. But really where I think Mike Yeo has excelled is his communication with the fan base, the media, and his outward facing stuff beyond the locker room. And last night, we were watching the game, you and I and Eric up there, and we saw that there was a guy not coming out, didn't jump on the ice on a power play. They were 4-on-4 for an extended period of time. And I know you asked Mike about it, and I loved his answer after the game, because I'll just paraphrase. The one thing that he did say to you was, the bench figured it out, and it still took 5 seconds for the player to be ready. He said, we have to be sharper. To me, it's an example of where our heads were at. Assignments that we've drilled over and over again, shown on video over and over again, that we're missing right from the start of the game. I mean, that to me, that was a great answer to a question of something that is unacceptable.
Yeah, that's, honestly, knowing who you're replacing and coming out on a change on a power play, you're really only counting to one. And if every once in a while, you'll see a guy who's momentarily inattentive and someone on the bench screams at him, get out there. It was a 15 seconds. And even after the 2-on-1, it was another, as Mike Yeo pointed out, it was another 5-6 seconds after that till there were 5 guys on the ice. And that's after you've just given up a shorthanded 2-on-1. I mean, that kind of, that's not even attention to detail. That's just being asleep at the switch. And that just cannot happen ever in a professional hockey team. And that is not a coaching issue. I mean, this is something, guys who played hockey all their lives, they know how to change on a power play. To have 4 men on the ice that long a period of time, I've never seen that. I've never seen it for that extended of a period, especially when there's a 2-on-1 coming to your end. And you still don't change. I didn't. That one was kind of flabbergasting. And he put it right on the player. He didn't. He said we knew it on the bench. It was communicated. And I'm interested to see actually how the power play will be aligned on Saturday in Detroit. Because there is a message of accountability. So there was no power play work today. There were a couple guys taking maintenance days. Giroux, Atkinson and Ristolainen. So they were doing a lot of battle drills and stuff like that. So they didn't really run lines today, or power play. But I think that when you are trying to send a message of accountability, there has to be some accountability. So I think that I'm interested to see. When they work power play tomorrow, how that's going to line up.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a complicated thing. When you're on the bench and you're on PP2 and PP1's out there, you know who you got. Like on the bench, all right, when he comes, I got Giroux, I got Atkinson, and when that guy comes, because it's not going to be sometimes a whole full sail change, which signals the entire next line to go out. You got to be dialed into the game, and that just cannot happen. I mean, it was. I ranted about it on the post-game show because these are the types of self-inflicted wounds that we've seen too much this year. Yeah, injuries are part of it. COVID's part of it, Bill. But how has this just been such an issue with this team with the details for now 2 years?
It's
confounding.
It is. It's absolutely flabbergasting. I mean, just mistakes that you just don't expect to see at even at any professional level. Truthfully. This should just be fundamental stuff, and just little details that get sometimes the little details. This obviously was a big one, but little details that get missed over and over and over again that seem to bite the Flyers, in the butt over and over again. Things just as simple as where everybody should be. If a battle is lost, if a face-off is lost, where everybody's supposed to go, right?
Yeah.
And there's not consistency with it. I mean, these are things they work on every single day, and just little assignments. Who has who, and just basic fundamental hockey stuff. Like last night, there's a goal scored, and one of the defensemen is up at the defensive blue line on the play, and it wasn't like it wasn't just off of a rush either. He just never got back.
Never retreated.
Then, he never retreated. He never moved, never circled back to his position. And Hart was really hung out to dry on that one. That was the second goal that he allowed. So, things like that you just, you have veteran players, you have guys that have played this game a long time, and just the simplest, the most basic routine of assignments that wouldn't even be a systems thing, right?
Yeah.
It bites them time and again, and it's been it happens way too often, and it's not this coaching staff. It goes back beyond this coaching staff. It's it's been a multiple year thing too. So it's unacceptable and it's frustrating.
There was an element of the game that I thought was a big positive, but I can't take it as a positive because of the elements that override it. But the fact that, Detroit scores 20 seconds later, the Flyers score to tie it. Detroit scores at 6:02. The Flyers tie it 24 seconds later. When they go down 4-2, 21 seconds later, they get back within one. Like that element of not letting a goal deflate you and battling back and getting other goals was good, but it just gets overridden by the bad stuff, unfortunately.
No, for sure. You want to see the resiliency, but on the flip side, listen, you came back 3 times a shift later, from a goal lose, and you still lose by 3.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to take away many positives. And quite frankly, on the Detroit side, that's an indictment of them, because it's to get, you never want to get scored on the shift right after scoring a goal or giving one up. And it happened 3 times to them last night. So that's something that I'm sure, Blashill wasn't happy about after the game, and again, it's good to see the resiliency and it doesn't totally deflate you, but by the same token, the Flyers were lucky to be down 1 goal heading into the third, and Mike Yo touched on this, and he was right. The third period was awful. I mean, there was no compete in that third period.
One shot.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost the end of the game. So that that's unacceptable too.
Yeah, it really is. I read this tweet on postgame last night. Holly Ski 33 tweeted me and said, "With the flow and look of this game so far, if these two teams were related, they'd be identical twins." And I was like, you know what? That's really good. Yeah. Because giving up the goal right after you score, that was a Flyer trait last year. It's been a trait of points this year as well. Bill, let's talk about the deadline, because it's 5 weeks from Monday when it'll come. I guess that's 35 days from Monday. So about 39 days from now. And, we're not quite there yet when it comes to guys getting moved. We'll start to hear some chatter, but it's kind of just noise at this point. Yeah. But one of the things with Giroux, and if he decides to waive the no move clause, will be how many teams he decides to waive it for. But also the likelihood, I know some people want to get that deal done earlier, but with an 8.25 cap hit, and you couple that, they'll eat some money to get a better return, but teams will like to make that move later because that cap hit is even lessened further. So do you expect that to be something that kind of comes down to the final wire? Maybe not the final day, but the final week.
I would say the last week to 10 days. I don't expect it to come down to the final day. Usually the bigger deals happen in the week to 10 day period, maybe as close as 5 days ahead of time, something like that. But I expect, assuming he waives the no movement clause, that'll come down, I would say, probably a little bit ahead of the deadline. It's really too early right now on February 10th to think that anything is imminent. As you said, there'll be rumors right up until something were to happen. We had an interesting discussion today too, tied into Giroux. If assuming Giroux gets traded, who wins the Bobby Clark Trophy this year? And to me, it's a no-brainer that Carter Hart would be the guy.
Yep, I totally agree. He may win it anyway.
Yeah.
Could Giroux win it even if he was traded? We vote for that.
Yeah, theoretically we could vote for a guy who's not there.
No longer here.
Point. Yeah,
it would almost be.
It's never happened.
It would be it'd be different, but it would be kind of like putting a bow on his time here. Because I bet you and I both believe that if he does waive his no move clause, is traded, the likelihood of him coming back here is very low.
The only case I could think of that happening was Keith Tkachuk.
Yeah. St.
Know,
Louis to Atlanta and back to St. Louis.
And then back to St. Louis. And, you know, there's always rumors about it, and it just never seems to happen other than that one case. So
why do you think it doesn't happen, Bill? Is it kind of one of those things where, okay, I did move on, now I need a fresh opportunity, whether it's with the team I was traded to at the deadline or just a different team?
I think so. I think that, you know, there's the initial sentiment, you know, particularly when a guy's been with a team for a number of years. And then it's, you know what, it's a fresh start. You're somewhere else, you know, particularly if, you know, you can pick your own situation. And usually if a guy's moved after he's been with a franchise for so long, and usually there's some kind of transitional phase going on anyway, you know, with that organization. So, you know, it's I think that what happens is that the you know, the initial being sorry to go gets replaced. Hey, you're excited for a new opportunity, and then, you know, you make a fresh start, whether it's with the team you're traded to or somewhere else. And I mean, honestly, I think it helps the return, Jason, if he were to go somewhere where he'd extend with, just because that would be, the team would know he's not just a rental. So I think that would also benefit the Flyers too. If he could go somewhere where he'd extend, you know, right off the bat.
Yeah, I've said this a lot. I think that, you know, it's always good to have guys enter a team that don't know where the bathroom is when they get to the practice. Where's the bathroom? Where's the change room? Where's the shack? You know, there's an excitement to that for the guy that also doesn't know where it is, where you got to use your GPS to get to the practice rink because you haven't driven it every day. So it's new, it's fresh, it feels different. It's like a new girl. After being with the same one for a really long time. Well, we say that as married men, but anyway, let's talk return for Giroux, because a lot depends here on how many teams he waives it for, how much the Flyers are willing to eat when the deal goes down. You know, does the team need to clear some cap space so they take on a player and some salary in return as a dollar for dollar situation? What do you kind of think the return kind of ranges from when you're talking about a player of Giroux's ilk?
Well, I think that, you know, I can look at it more from the Flyers standpoint as to what the ask would be. I think the ask should be a young guy who's already in the NHL, has some upside, you know, and he's shown at least hints or you know, some ability at this level. So you're not starting just totally from scratch with somebody. I mean, that's
with a pick and not a face.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, honestly, I personally don't have a ton of interest in late first round picks. Flyers will have their own picks, and it is nice when you can have multiple picks so you can package something maybe. But, you know, truthfully, I'd rather get a young player with some upside who's already in the league, has been through some of the growing pains, and is ready to take the next step. And, you know, Giroux would add to any team in a Stanley Cup run, potentially, really more than any young player they'd be getting back for that 1 year period. And, you know, my selling point on that, as a young player being the main component on it, is, listen, you only get so many kicks at the can in the Stanley Cup, and you think you have this window of time. You can't let a year slip away, because what ends up happening so many times is that window of time closes on you faster than you think it does. Guys get injured. When you have that chance to go for it, you go for it.
Yeah. I mean, look at a team like the Rangers were there and so close so many years. You look at other teams around the NHL that were even look at Winnipeg, right? They were a couple years in a row in the preseason kind of, you know, prognostications. Winnipeg's a team to look out for this year. And now all of a sudden it doesn't look like their window's it's not even really open again. And you just they weren't able to push it over the goal line. It's part of that's pandemic related for them too, I'm sure. But you know, you look at that situation. Bill, one of the things that turn of phrases that we heard recently, it was from Chuck Fletcher. All right, there we're back.
There you go. Yeah, sorry.
That's me. My internet is just giving me the finger all week. I don't know what the deal is, but one of the turn of phrases, and I was really shocked when he said it, was Chuck Fletcher. What he said, we need high-end talent. High-end talent. You don't call that a star. You just call it high-end talent. And Danny Briere echoed it. It seems to me that they're going to do everything they can to land a piece of high-end talent. Is that something we can expect this offseason, or is that more maybe next offseason with a different free agent class and draft and everything else?
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if it's this offseason, honestly.
That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah. It depends on, also depends a little bit on who actually gets the free agency. So many years there's, this guy's rumored to be available. He's going to test the market, and then he ends up extending, right before free agency starts. And all right, cross him off the list. What's our next step there? There's some quality players that are out there, whether that's a Forsberg or a Hurdle. I mean, these aren't franchise players by any means, but they're quality players who make a team better. I mean, it would be really nice, it'd be nice to add a scoring winger too. But to me, particularly given the uncertainty with Kevin Hayes and Couturier dealing with injuries this season, I really think the Flyers need to address the middle first. So.
All right. There, I'm back again.
Okay.
You were saying, the uncertainty regarding Kevin Hayes. You prefer probably to go center?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. With Kevin Hayes' uncertainty and Couturier coming off of injury issues, and hopefully he'll be fine next season and going on. But I'm a little concerned with Hayes at back-to-back years. I think the Flyers need to address the middle before they look scoring winger. So if you can meet one need or the other, I would look toward the center if you can. I'm a believer in building down the middle and rounding out on the wings anyway. So, that's why I would look.
That's why I look at the Rangers and I go, okay, good team, but I don't know that they are a team that can go on a massive run. First of all, I think they give up too much quality, and then number two, they're all wing. They need help up the middle. Obviously, one of the names, Bill, is Johnny Gaudreau. Not a center. He is a winger. And there's obvious reasons, the connection geographically to where he grew up and the whole thing. Do you have any concerns, A, about what it would cost to sign him, and B, about what he could do here?
Well, I signing wise, yes, he'd be a big ticket player.
Are you looking at 9?
I would think so. So. I mean, he's going to get paid. There's only so much, bringing a player home is nice, but he's going to get paid wherever he goes.
Business.
And
yeah,
it's a business. And so yes, he would be a very expensive player looking at a long-term kind of thing, and it still leaves a big need unaddressed. He would replace Claude Giroux production wise, but I don't know that Giroux being moved, depending on what comes in, and Gaudreau coming in, really makes you a better hockey team. You get younger, you get another high skill guy, but I don't know that it gets you closer to where you need to get to. I mean, if that's one piece of multiple things going on, but that's just such a big chunk of salary cap that I don't know what else they could look at, right? I have no doubt there'll be cap space to make a couple of moves, but I think it'll be more of one big move, one medium move. And beyond that, it's like, okay, who are some guys who are maybe less expensive on the cap who come in and fill a need?
Yeah. Do you look into the trade market? Like in the One Flyers Daily episode a couple of weeks back, I floated that when Toronto fails again, they need D, send Provorov and connecting to Toronto for Mitch Marner. That's obviously, I don't know that it's a pipe dream. I don't know what it is, but you could accomplish something like that, but you have to find one of those teams that already has another star. And there's not many of them that have multiple stars, because you also have to have the star as the face of your organization. Toronto's got that with Matthews. And you look at Edmonton's got it with McDavid, but they have Draisaitl. I don't think they're trading either of those guys. But do you look at a situation where we could see some kind of blockbuster deal? Because the blockbuster deal in the NHL, I'm not sure if that is going to be possible right now with even if the cap does go up, it's nominally. But you look at the situation, But some of these teams that have some of these players and multiple stars that haven't won, they've got to do something because it's becoming the definition of insanity, repeating the same thing and expecting a different result.
Yeah, for sure. It's, as you said, though, those blockbuster deals are very hard to make happen. I mean, a big piece of it is cap matching.
Yeah.
And, and then there's also, sometimes you don't want to fill one need and then open another need too. So that's I don't know. You don't see the big blockbuster hockey trade as often as you used to. I think the cap is, of course, the number one reason for that. It's possible. I do think the teams that have built what looks to be a contender on paper, and if you don't get beyond a certain point after a couple of years of trying, you have to look to another path, because as we were just saying, the window closes faster than you think sometimes. And Toronto, there's so many expectations in that market. Right now, I think they'd be, if last time I looked at the standings, I think they'd be looking at a first round series with Tampa Bay. So that's not who you want to draw. And even if you win that series, how much does it take out of you by the time you're in the second? Now that's tough. That's a tough road, but
and in the second round, you could end up with a team like Carolina that just suffocates you.
Right.
Probably. Well, Carolina's at the top, but look, to have success in the playoffs now, there's so many good teams in this league. Like, look at the top 8 teams in the East. I look at all those teams. Any one of those 8 teams to me could represent the Eastern Conference in the Stanley Cup final.
Yeah, you really could. You could view, they have some avenue, right? Some plausible avenue where you can see them winning. So, listen, look at what Montreal did a year ago, and nobody had Montreal getting to the finals a year ago. So, teams, funny things happen in playoff series, but I think you have that group of contenders that they have enough quality pieces that if certain matchups or whatever break their way, you could see them, being the team that comes out of the East. I think it's potentially there. So,
but one of the areas where I was reticent to move a couple of guys was left-handed defensemen, whether that's Provorov or Sanheim. But when I look at the free agent market and I look at the trade market, there's a couple of left-handed defensemen that I'd be interested in. Therefore, it does give me some plausibility to listen on those guys, on Provorov and Sanheim. The 2 guys that I'm talking about in particular are Hampus Lindholm, who's 28.
Yeah.
And also, I look in the trade market at a guy like Jacob Chychrun in Arizona, who certainly is being shopped. Now, Chychrun's under contract. It's not an exorbitant contract. It's going to cost you a good amount to get him, but you can also maybe dump some salary with Arizona in some exchange there. And then I look at Hampus Lindholm and I go, he's been in the Western Conference. He plays for the Ducks. To me, Hampus Lindholm's one of those guys that if you have a Hampus Lindholm and then you lose him, you're looking for a replacement for Hampus Lindholm.
For sure. The Flyers definitely need another, and he's one of those ultra steady Eddie guys.
Yep.
He's not going to get the headlines like a Victor Hedman, but he's so valuable to his team. And he'll give you 20 quality minutes a night. He rarely does things that he doesn't beat himself. You need, every team needs that kind of player in the mix. And it's not the headline grabbing sexy move, but that'd be the kind of player that would really come in and help a team and help balance pairs too.
Yeah, and I think like the casual Flyer fan, like, Hampus who? What? Hampus? But he's a really good, steady player that will really stabilize your back end in a lot of ways with real consistent minutes at the prime of his career. It's going to cost you. But let's talk about Morgan Frost and Cam York. Isaac Ratcliffe was recalled. He got his first NHL goal, although delayed a little bit. You and I both saw it right away and said, I think that's Ratcliffe's goal. And it turned out to be so. His first NHL marker. But Cam York and Morgan Frost were not recalled. First of all, do you anticipate them being recalled for Saturday to head to Detroit?
It's a possibility. Right now I'd say it's 50-50 at best. And I'd lean towards no.
Is it because of the 3 games this weekend that the Phantoms have?
I think that's a piece of it. I think there's things they want to see from those guys, whether it's right, whether it's wrong, whether it's in somewhere in the middle. I think they want to see those guys step up and grab the bull by the horns, and then they'll come up. I mean, I think that's
earn their way back in a way.
Yeah, I think that's what the what the Flyers would be looking for from those guys.
You see, the fans look at it and they say, well, why aren't they here? They need to be here. I mean, part of the equation too, maybe waivers and guys that have to clear waivers and don't, and you don't have a taxi squad right now anymore. And hopefully we never see that again until we get to, the Black Aces in the playoffs.
Yeah, for sure.
But when you look at those two, the fans want to see those players, and that's one of the things they want to take out of this. I mean, I got a tweet from a guy that said, why is some of these guys all the way down to Strome, why are they not with the team right now? Let me give you this tweet from this guy. He says, let's see here. Can you explain why Zamula, Frost, York, Allison, Cates, and Strome are not getting regular minutes on this team? These guys can't possibly make things worse.
Okay. Well, first of all, once you're trading and waiving a bunch of guys, you don't have that many call-ups available, so you can call up probably two of them. B, it's unless there's another wave of injuries, you just don't have the spaces or the cap space or the roster spaces to do that. But secondly, and in some cases like Allison, there's injury issues. I mean, truthfully, it's a legitimate point of view. If it was my decision to make, and it's clearly not, but it was my decision to make, I would like to see York and Frost up with the big team, and I would have liked to see them in the lineup last night. But yeah. I get where they're coming from on the flip side of that. I think honestly, if those guys go out and they have a good game or two down there, I mean, a consistently good game down there, not a shift or two here or there, I think you'd see them back up pretty quickly. And I mean, I think part of it with Frost, at least, is that the Brassard is back, and I think though at some point they might juggle things so that both guys could be in the lineup, assuming that Brassard stays healthy. And with York, I guess one benefit is that he's back on his natural side again. He's playing power play, he's playing, seeing some penalty killing time, so that I thought it was a tough situation for him on his offside playing with the Nhl. I mean, there was something to be said though for gaining the experience of playing on the offside and playing against NHL competition. And honestly, I thought he's looked better in some of his NHL games than some of his Phantoms games. He's one of those guys who seems to benefit from playing with playing against and with NHL players. So it'll happen, I think, fairly quickly. But I think, but listen, I mean, I see the other side of it too. I can see where the Flyers are coming from, but I can also see the impatience of, hey, we have a little less than half a season left here. Let's see what these guys could do if they get an extended look and a little higher in the lineup too. Sometimes it's tough when you're playing near the bottom of the lineup to make an impact.
Yeah, no doubt. Last thing for you, Bill. Danny Matos had DM'd me and said, not knowing you were going to be on today, and he said, for the next Ask Billy, can you ask if he believes the Flyers will sign Cates, O'Brien, Brink, and Attard? Let's start with Noah Cates. Jackson Cates has played for the Flyers. That's his brother, but Noah Cates was the draft pick for the Flyers. Do you think that Cates, let's kind of get a download on Cates, O'Brien, and Brink, because all three are playing collegiately right now. And O'Brien's looked much, much better at BU. And Brink's having a hell of a season as well.
Yeah. So I think that I'm pretty sure Noah Cates will sign. I know the people were concerned whether Lazinski was going to sign and whether, and whether Wade Allison went through his senior year, and Wade Allison probably would have signed a couple years earlier. I mean, Noah Cates wanted to take that one more crack at a national championship. His brother's already here. He has a very good relationship with the organization. I would be surprised if Cates waits till August 15th and becomes a free agent. I expect him to sign. It's a little different situation just in terms of age-wise with Attard. Attard having been a college freshman at age 20, could be an unrestricted free agent if he comes out this year and be 30 days after he turns pro. I think the Flyers have put a lot of resources into making sure that Adder doesn't go elsewhere. I don't think it was an accident, for example, when the question was asked of Chuck Fletcher about player development, the first name he talked about was Ronnie Adder. They're definitely staying close to him. And what benefits also, I think, with Adder is that he knows Shell Samuelson really well, and he played with Myrtetus, who's Shell's son. They played together in Western Michigan. He knows Wade Allison very well. They were teammates at Western Michigan. So, and there's an opportunity there too. It's not just where your friends are. There's an opportunity to come in and play probably sooner rather than later. So, I know a year ago Kalanick ended up signing with Chicago. So I think some people are a little understandably nervous. But I think they'll get Adder under contract. Brink, I think just had what a great year he's had at Denver. So I think even though he has one more year of eligibility left after this one, I think that he'll turn pro after the season too.
We see an NHL debut out of him this year?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I think that's a possibility for sure. And with O'Brien, O'Brien's a strange case because he had that rough freshman season at Providence, and then he goes to the BCHL, which while he was in transfer protocol, the last 2 seasons he's been BU's best player. The problem has been keeping him on the ice, because last year, because of the pandemic, the season was only 16 games long. No Frozen Four a year ago, so 16 games done. This year he's missed 11 games due to injury. So his combined total of games from last year and this year is less than one college season. Yeah. So it's a small sample size. I know there's a segment that have written him off, but if you watch the Bean Pod and if you watch his 4 games running up to that, I don't have a question that this kid can play. He can fly on the ice. He has some intensity to him. Has a great shot, big heavy one-timer. He sees the ice. He's gotten a little stronger physically, which was one of the knocks on him. So to me, it's just a question of, keeping him on the ice playing. Is he healthy?
Yeah.
And but if you let it go to his senior year, then then you have a situation where, okay, well, then the ball's in his court. Does he want to sign at the end of his senior year, or would he want to go for free agency? I would lean towards saying more likely than not he goes back his senior year, and then if all goes well, the Flyers would try to get him signed before he could be a free agent.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be interesting. We'll see if guys like Brink, I think, is one of those guys that's going to be a grimy NHL player. Just the way he approaches everything around the net. We saw it in the World Juniors last year too.
Oh, for sure. He's a little bit kind of a funny to say a smaller Giroux, but he is smaller. He's about
unorthodox.
Caulfield. Yeah, he's about Cole Caulfield size, but he's a tremendous playmaker. He hustles, he competes, smart player. A little like a Cam Atkinson type. That he's really small, but he doesn't play small. So, I expect Brink to be a pro, and I think he'll be an NHL guy. Even the fact that as small as he is, and maybe not the prettiest skater, I think he'll figure it out and he'll be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Giroux's not the prettiest skater either. Yeah. But anyway, Bill, awesome stuff. Thanks for doing this as always. We appreciate it. And I know a lot of people got a lot out of this today. And we'll talk again soon, man.
That sounds good, Jason. Talk to you soon.
All right, there he is, Bill Meltzer. You can read his work at PhiladelphiaFlyers.com, NHL.com, and HockeyBuzz.com. He's the best, man. He's the Ray Didinger of Flyers hockey in Philadelphia. So we thank him for joining us. And every Thursday, we have a little segment we call All right, it is Tone's Takes. There he is, Tone. What's going on?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good. You get the animation going, the whole thing.
It's awesome. I love it.
I'm really excited for your appearance today because I think you're going to talk about something I think is really important. People look at, different at gambling and it's all about winning. Yeah. But there are times when you go through slumps, and you're going to talk about bankroll management and how not to let it destroy you.
Yeah, I mean, I myself am in a slump right now. I'm always transparent with that on Twitter, but it's a marathon, not a sprint. You gotta keep everything the same. You can't chase units. I've done that in the past myself. If I've been down like a couple $100, I maybe place a bet for like $300 or $400. I've stopped doing that over the past year, and it's definitely working out. Keep all your bets the same at one unit. One unit for me is $100. Each could be like a 1% of your bankroll, however way you want to do it. But that's my standard bet. I've only had one bet this season in the NHL season above that, and that was a bet for 150. It's got to keep doing everything the same. Keep your research the same. Don't get discouraged. I've been lucky enough to build up a good bankroll during the season, so this really isn't hurting me too much. Yeah, the slump stinks, but it's got to keep to the process, as we like to say here in Philly. And just kind of keep your head up and keep grinding.
Yeah,
but it's definitely important not to chase. You cannot chase. Don't start doing parlays and things like that. Just try to keep everything the same. Maybe lower the units a little bit, maybe a half unit, maybe not play as many games until you kind of start feeling right. I felt good going into the break, and then I've gotten off to a horrible start this week. So,
yeah, that's the thing. Like, you can't change your approach because when you're losing, there's like serotonin levels that go off in your brain. And you start, and the desperation kicks in, and then you're chasing, and now you've lost the core tenets of your ability to handicap games. If you do that, you have to stay even,
right?
And when you're winning too, like, you can't go crazy. You can't go, I'm streaking right now. Let me throw, a 5-unit play out there, because that burn now that's just 5 steps backwards.
Exactly. I mean, it's like a hockey player. Like, you're in a goal scoring slump. Just whatever the reason is, things. Yeah, things aren't going right, but you just gotta stick with it. So
yeah, and I think that's a really important lesson, because bankroll management is the big thing, and you don't want to see people get burned because they start those serotonin levels start kicking in, and they start chasing it, and then they put themselves in a really tough situation where all that hard work of when it was good go away, and then drop. It can happen like that. So let's get you back on the horse. Let's get back on the beam, as they say. Tone, what are you looking at this week, and in particular tonight?
I'm liking the Penguins in regulation, -130, and they had a big win against Boston the other night, down 2-0 after the first, and they came back to win 4-2. A lot of times you have teams that I think they had a 4-game losing streak going into the break. A lot of times once they break that streak, they'll win the next game. I like them -130 in regulation tonight against Ottawa. Ottawa's off 2 big wins against Jersey, and then they beat Carolina 4-3 in their last game. They're still missing some key offensive pieces in Norris and Batherson. It gets harder and harder for a team like that, to keep scoring goals while not having those pieces. So I think they're going to see a little bit of regression tonight for Ottawa. Like the Penguins -130 in regulation. Casey DeSmith is starting, which I'm not too crazy about, but he has played well his last 2 starts. So I think the Penguins can get the regulation win here tonight in Ottawa.
In Ottawa, still no fans in Ottawa, too. I know Eugene Melnick, the owner of the Ottawa Senators, is one of the guys leading the lobby of the Canadian teams for the government first, either to let fans back in or play games south of the border.
Yeah.
So a little noise around the team as well in Ottawa. Yep. And when you're missing Norris and Drake Batherson, that's a huge loss for a team without a tremendous amount of depth.
Right. Yeah, they can sustain it maybe for a couple of games, but you see that a lot when they're missing star players. Just especially with the team, like a young team like Ottawa, who has trouble scoring goals anyway. It's kind of tough to kind of keep that momentum going. So
one of the marquee games on the card, and I love this game. This is like a strap in, enjoy it. Hey, it's been a tough Flyer season, but how about Tampa Bay, the 2-time Cup champ, taking on the Colorado Avalanche in Colorado? 9:00 game tonight on ESPN Plus. I mean, I look at this game and I go, this is like potential game of the year shit, right?
Yeah,
this is a great game tonight, and you got to play on it.
Yeah, I like the over 6 in this game. I do think it's going to start a little slow, so don't get discouraged if there's no goals in the first, like maybe even the first period. But yeah, I like the over. Tampa Bay is they average 3.6 goals per game on the road. They have a good power play on the road at 24%. Then they're giving up some goals on the road too at 3.14. Penalty kill struggles on the road, which is 75%. Avs, even though they're missing, McKinnon still average 4.25 goals per game at home. They have a good power play, 22% at home. Goals against is down about 2.46 for the Avs, but I think we're going to see some goals here tonight. First meeting this year, Colorado won 4-3 in overtime in Tampa, and 6 of the last 7 games in Colorado have hit at least 6 goals. So I think there's a good chance we get at least 6 goals here tonight, which will be a push, but I'm kind of looking at it like a 3-3 kind of game again with these two teams.
Yeah, and just that, overtime 4-3 win, and boom, you're over. That would be the play. I mean, it's going to be a fascinating game tonight. I wish McKinnon was playing.
I know.
I want to see like full Monty versus full Monty, but it is what it is.
Yeah, this is a cup preview that
could be.
Thought maybe the past couple of years that we were going to get, and we haven't. I mean, Tampa's done their part, but the Avs just haven't been able to get it together. So who knows this year? Maybe we finally get it. It'd be a great series.
Yeah. One of the things I was talking about with Bill Meltzer, Tone, last thing for you, is when I look at these standings in the Eastern Conference, right? And I look at, the top teams, whether that be Florida or Carolina, you look at, Tampa, obviously 2-time Cup champs. You look at a team like the Leafs, who are right there with games in hand. They've won 6 straight games. The Rangers have kind of shocked everybody. I mean, they only have 13 regulation losses here, 47 games in. And I look at all these teams and I go, gee, all the way down to the Caps and the Bruins, the 2 wildcard teams, I go, any one of these teams could represent the East in the Stanley Cup final. Like, I don't look at one and go, nah, I don't see it.
Yeah, 100%, especially in the East. I mean, in the West, you have the Avs, you have Vegas, probably, as of right now, are those 2, top teams. But the East is definitely wide open, especially with Boston coming off a little bit. Who knows, Rasmussen's retiring now, so that comeback didn't go too well. So, the East is wide open. You can maybe you'll see one of those wild card teams take it. It's kind of one of those years. So
yeah, like 2010 when the Flyers were the 7 seed, got in on the final day of the year. Conference
seems like
final.
forever ago, man. Seems like forever ago. Too long ago.
Well, they're in the conference final against Montreal, and they had home ice.
Yeah, right. I think it was the 7 and the 8 seed because they were 7 and Montreal was 8 when I remember.
Yeah, because Montreal bounced out the Washington Capitals, who won the President's Trophy.
Yeah, and Pittsburgh too. They beat Pittsburgh too in the second round. Yeah,
and they were gassed by the time they got to the conference final. Flyers took
the Flyers. Yeah, they steamrolled them.
Yeah, awesome. Tone, thanks as always, man. Appreciate it. Have a great weekend. Good luck, and we appreciate the time.
All right, thanks, Jason. Take it easy.
All right, there he is. Tone's Takes on a Thursday edition of Parx Sportsbook Presents Stick to Hockey Live. And great stuff from Tone. I love that advice he gave on bankroll management, and it's totally true. You can't start chasing it. That's when you're just going to get yourself in trouble. All the hard work you did to build your bankroll can evaporate if you start chasing it and making bad decisions. So stick to the process. Trust the process, as Joel Embiid would say. That's a bad Embiid impersonation. All right, let me tell you about Parx one last time before we wrap up for the week. And get the Parx Sportsbook app. Huge sports gambling weekend with the big game on Sunday. All the hockey action tonight and throughout the weekend. All the college and pro hoops. Same game parlays, live in-game betting, play-by-play betting. You've got player performances. You're going to have props out the wazoo. Out the wazoo for this big game coming up on Sunday. They're all listed there, all easy to do. And for new customers, just sign up now. Your first bet risk-free up to $500. $500 risk-free. Just open an account, deposit, first bet risk-free, $500. So you got nothing, no promo code to put in, none of that silly stuff. No hoops to jump through. Local company, local guys. That's why we love them. That's why we trust them. And that's why you should as well. So download the Parx Sportsbook app on your phone and open up an account, deposit, first bet risk-free up to $500. I guarantee you will not regret it. And you will not find an app to get your action in on that is as easy to navigate and get your action in on than the Parx Sportsbook app. So, and that's a big element. Easy deposit methods, fast payouts, the whole thing. It's all there for you. Parx Sportsbook. Grab the app Download it. First bet, risk-free up to $500. Let me tell you that you should give them a follow on their social channels as well. At Parx Sportsbook on Twitter, on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. You'll get great content. You'll get daily specials. You'll get tons there. It's a full interactive experience from the app to being able to go up on Street Road in Bensalem to the Parx Sportsbook and Casino. Beautiful sportsbook, by the way. Awesome. I did my Saturday radio show there forever. It's tremendous. TVs everywhere, comfortable seating, the whole thing. And also through the social channels, you get all the great content and much more. So make sure you grab the Parx Sportsbook app and, again, give them a follow at Parx Sportsbook on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube as well. That's going to put a wrap on our Stick to Live presented by Parx Sportsbook for the week. We'll be back Monday, another brand new episode. We'll do that Monday at 1 o'clock, Tuesday with Harry Mays, the Odd G's podcast, and then next Thursday as well. But everybody, have a great couple of days. We'll talk to you coming up on Monday with a brand new edition of Parx Sportsbook Presents Stick to Hockey.